All right, this is working great. My name is Rachel. I am a knitter, a crocheter, a wife, a mother, a teacher, and I love to film episodes to talk about my current crafts as well as potential projects I may decide to cast on, as well as talk about just random things that pop to mind related to the knitting world. So if you're interested, please stay tuned and listen up. And if you like the video, please like. If you want to, please subscribe. And with that said, we'll go ahead and dive right in. As always, I am not wearing any of my knitted objects because for whatever reason, I decided to start a podcast or a YouTube channel. I don't even know if I want to call this a podcast, but without actually wearing the garments that you should be wearing. However, I do have a couple of objects or projects, I should say, that I'm currently working on. So you may notice, for those of you who have watched my channel before, that I am not filming in my usual location. I am currently in the city of Kansas City, Missouri, to be exact. And it's a wonderful opportunity for me to attend a work conference event here. And so while I am here, obviously I bought my knitting. So the last time I filmed an episode, I talked about the fact that I wanted to make sure that I had a project that was going to engage me as well as a project that was going to challenge me. And the project that has been hands down the most engaging experience of my entire knitting career, at least for this month, has been the Artus Shawl. This is a shawl. The name of the creator of the shawl I'm going to have to put on the screen because I don't want to say the name incorrectly. Let's see if I can. Nope. But this particular pattern is unbelievable. It's a beautiful mosaic shawl that you start off with working in a triangle, and you do increases while doing these intricate little textured stitches, and then you're going to weave in new colors, and I shouldn't say weave in, knit in new colors, and then it gives you the opportunity to do a beautiful mosaic pattern. And I first was introduced to this particular pattern by watching Piece for Piece. It's a podcast hosted by Michael. I can't remember his last name, but I know that he's a former dancer and he's a teacher in the Chicago area, and wonderful human being and personality on screen. I had a pleasure of meeting him once in person, and I thought he was a cool dude. And I decided to become a subscriber to his channel. And he held a knit along where we were doing this particular pattern. And at the time I was doing a test knit, and I was doing some other projects too that really were challenging. And I didn't want to take on the particular shawl. Plus, I don't usually knit shawls. And I know that when you're knitting a shawl, you do about the same amount of stitches and use about the same amount of yarn and spend about the same amount of time doing the project as you do with the sweater. But for some reason, I don't know, I kind of like frown my nose at it, but not with this particular pattern. It is so fun to do, and I can't believe I'm saying this. So let me show you what I have so far. I gotta just lean over. Ooh, that's nice. So I'm leaning into the camera. Sorry about that. So with this particular pattern, I decided to, once again, just to go through what I currently have in my collection. And in my collection, as I've shared with you many times when you've seen pictures, those of you who watched it, I have a lot of yarn and I don't always know what to do with it. And one of the yarns that I recently purchased was from a yarn store in Montreal. It's called Les Garçons. And the owners of the yarn shop initially were just online hand dyers who occasionally do trunk shows. And they did a trunk show at Pick Up Every Stitch last year, 2023, at Pick Up Every Stitch. And I was able to purchase this beautiful camo yarn. The name of the colorway, I don't know because I don't have the tag with me, but it's a unique colorway. They tend to get really creative with the names of the colorways that they dye. They either name it after someone personal to them, or they name it after an event they're going to. Like, every name of the yarn has a story, and this is no different with this one. And for this particular yarn here, I'll bring it a little closer to the camera. For this particular yarn, I had initially planned on making the pressed flowers, not a cardigan. I was going to do the cowl, and I have the beautiful pink yarn. I was going to do this. I love the colors for the original pattern, all set and ready to go. And then randomly, I was, I got a bag from Black Pearl Magic, and it's huge. It's this big, huge vinyl, beautiful plastic, well-made bag. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? I don't have it's perfect for like a blanket project or for like a whole bunch of finished projects if you don't like have the proper storage space for it. I'm like, what am I going to do with it? And then I looked over at my mohair that I have stuffed into this plastic bag that is like 2 seconds from busting at the seams. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put my beautiful mohair into this bag. I don't use mohair as often, but I don't want it to be compromised by leaving it in this plastic bag that is open in my closet where it can attract various insects to it as well. So with that said, as I'm putting the mohair inside my beautiful Black Pearl Magic, I discovered this particular mohair. This is mohair I actually got at Pick Up Every Stitch. It was their they were doing obviously various displays of yarn, and they had Isgar yarn. This is Isgar mohair, and I was initially going to use this yarn to make an Oslo hat, the mohair edition one, because usually when I make an Oslo hat, I take either a fingering weight or sport weight yarn and I pair it with mohair. And so that was my intention with this, because this is a sport weight yarn, and I was going to pair it together and make myself a beautiful Oslo hat. I thought this would be a fun color for my husband, but I never cast on. And then I lost interest in making Oslo hats as I really became more adept at making hats using my Sorrento knitting machine. So the inclination to hand knit a hat has dropped significantly. So this is obviously been put aside to make a cowl, and this was just sitting in the plastic bag attracting little insects. So I decided just to take it out of its plastic bag and use it for this. And I was curious about the colorway it would make, and man, I'm so glad I made a decision to use this. So this beautiful yarn that I got from Pick Up Every Stitch on that amazing yarn day I had last year, and this is what I am doing so far. I hope you can see it's really scrunched up on the needle, so I'm sorry if you really can't get a really good look for this, but I wanted to start your attention here because this is where you start the pattern. And I know it looks a little frumpy because it is scrunched out, and B, I probably should have picked up another stitch here or not. I think I can fix it in order to spread it out, but I'm in love. I absolutely love it. And as you can see, you make these really beautiful increase to do the textured, and for parts of it, I held it together with mohair here, and then I stopped holding it together because I remembered, I was like, oh, but mohair makes me itchy, so I stopped, and I was just using the yarn. I was like, oh, that's a little too thin. I'm going to hold it with mohair, and I liked the pattern that started to emerge. It looked, I don't know, I really liked the way that the colors flowed out of it, and I wanted to see what it will continue to look like. So I did mohair again in this section, and then I decided to stop using mohair here. And so just like once it felt like a nice solid block of yarn is when I stopped, and it came out absolutely stunning. And this is another like little flash of color. And so I really like the original colorway of the yarn, of the yarn used for the sample that's featured in the pattern. And I wanted to go ahead and use that. And I didn't want to buy a kit nor, I didn't want to buy a kit. So I'm like, I know I have these colors in my collection, so why don't I just take a look? And I do. So it's a 5-color pattern, and let's see if I can, I found it. Since it's a 5-color pattern, I decided just to go deep. Excuse me one second. Here we go, I'm back. I wanted to go deep into my collection, and I found quite a few skeins of yarn that I didn't know I have. So the first skein of yarn that I found that I completely forgot about was this Ying yarn that I purchased from the, oh my gosh, what is that? Oh, New York Sheep and Wool. So I bought this with the intention again to make a Oslo hat, because that's my thing. I'm like, anytime I buy one skein, I'm like, I'll just make a hat with it. I'll make a hat with it, knowing I don't even make hats with my hands as often as I used to. So this has just been sitting in my collection. It's been almost a year since I went to that event, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with this yarn. Another yarn that I picked up that I was like, I need to figure out something to do with it. I actually got this from Lego Sans, their actual shop in Montreal, and I fell in love with the color, but I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. And so it's a BFL fingering weight yarn, in the colorway is sage, excuse me. And I just love the texture of it. It's very woolly but not scratchy. It's it feels so good on the skin. And because it is fingering weight, I am holding it double for the pattern. And then I was like, well, I need like a white. So I went in my collection and I found this off-white. It has like these gray undertones. I got this from Yarn Cafe. Now, I think she did do some dyeing with this. I don't believe this is in the natural state that the yarn was in when she first acquired it, because there is a gray undertone. I know it's not picking up very well on a camera, but in certain lights, you can see a lot of gray, bluish tints to it. So I decided to use these 2 skeins of yarn plus with the gold, and I was like, what am I going to do for the blue, because I wanted a baby blue. Well, I also have this yarn that I got from Yarn Cafe. And again, if you watched the previous episode, you may recall me expressing some of my frustration with the yarn I got from Yarn Cafe. The yarn is a polyworth wool. It's beautiful, very soft, very eloquent, excuse me, but I have all these 1 skeins and I don't know what to do with them. I was able to make the penny gloves with 1, and the other 3, it's like, what am I going to do with them? Other 2, excuse me, I forgot I bought only 3. So I decided to put them into the shawl, and I really am glad. So if you are someone who's familiar with the pattern, you probably have seen the colorways that she has, and it's not identical, but it's very similar into the colorway, and I love how the colors are blending with the dark camo green with the blue. Oh my goodness, even on camera, I love it. And for me, I remember Casey from Young Folk Knits, she was talking about being a process knitter and a product knitter. And for me, this is both the process and the product, this particular project, because I am absolutely enjoying the process of this particular project. It is very unique. It's something I have never done before. And it really requires me to be engaged, but not in a way where I need to watch every single aspect of what I'm doing. Once I figure out what row I'm on, it becomes pretty intuitive until I get to the end and make sure I implement the expectation. But I don't find it overwhelming or challenging in a way. I am developing my elbow pain again because I am clenching. I am holding my ears up. I'm clenching this, and I'm very tight. Like my thumb is pressed very hard into the needle. Plus, I'm not using my typical needles. I'm using my Chagu Forte. This is actually I'm sorry, I'm going to hold it like this. This is their 4-inch lace and 4mm needles to use, because I didn't want to travel with my Forte needles, because since they're a specialty needle and they're a little hard to come by, I thought it would be smarter to leave them at home just in case they're broken, or if I'm given a hard time at the airport and they try to confiscate them. I just didn't want to put myself in that situation. Whereas these, I purchased them from Amazon. I can easily replace them and I won't bat an eyelash. I can just simply take them off, and I have the proper stoppers at the end where it won't be an issue. So far in my travels, I haven't had any issues with the yarn that I've traveled with, but you never know. And I just don't want to take that risk. So with all the projects I have with me that I'm going to talk about with you today, I was very intentional about what needles to bring with me, which is why I think I am developing that pain again, because when I had this pain initially, I was using my Forte, but I was using also my fixed Chagu needles to the steel tip, the steel ones. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't want to stop knitting, and I hope that with yoga and other forms of exercise, as well as resting my elbow and using a support pillow while I'm knitting, that it would avoid the pain. But unfortunately, I have been dealing with that so much. And so I don't know about you when you have those particular pains, but for me, it's a little distressing because I am very dependent on my knitting. Like, I bring it with me everywhere. Before I left for this trip, one of the primary things I was thinking about was, what project am I going to bring with me? I know I'm going to be called upon to constantly get up and go. I know I'm going to have to interact with people, which requires me to socialize and talk about things and be interactive, where I don't, because I'm very good, I'm an only child, so I'm very good at, closing people off and just doing my own thing. So I had to bring a project that would allow me to interact with folks, but also entertain me. So I decided that while I'm in my hotel room, I would work on my shawl because there's no one here but me. Once I talk to my family, I am all alone, and it gives me a chance to like really focus on the expectations of the project without getting, like, oh gosh, what row was I on, or oh gosh, did I slip that particular stitch? So it's really an engaging project, and I'm so glad I decided to do it. Another project I wanted to share with you today, I have all of my projects behind the camera, which was really smart of me. The second project I wanted to talk about is my dress. So this is my mindless knit, my social project, the project I actually thought I would be working on in a plane. Believe it or not, I was working on the shawl during the very, very long layovers, which again, is the reason why I love knitting so much, because as stressful as it was to deal with the fact that my flight was delayed, and every time it was supposed to leave, it got delayed again. And it just increased my time sitting in the airport where I could have been home with my family rather than sitting at the airport waiting for the departure. And then I finally get here. It's late at night. I'm tired. I have to get up in the morning and supervise and lead a group of people in a PD. And it's just like, wasn't a thing. I was like in a good mental space. And I found myself starting to get not emotional, but just feeling stress and like, what am I going to do, and how am I going to do this? Should I be working on this? I can't get into this program. But I was like all these different things, and I just like made myself stop. And I was like, you know what, you're going to cast on for this project, and you're going to see if you can be successful with it. And that's what I did. And I'm so glad I did that. Like knitting can be so healing. Same thing with crochet, but I think both crafts, the ability to make something so beautiful with your hands can really calm your spirit when you're feeling moments of distress or stress. So anywho, I thought that the project in my hands would be the project I would be working on while I was in the airport, assuming that I would have a long wait. Very glad I focused on the shawl. However, the dress is coming along. Last time we spoke, I had maybe an inch or two. Yeah, I probably had a little over an inch and a half of the body done past the underarms. Well, this is where I'm at right now. And with this particular pattern, I noticed this from the pictures as well as from the comments that people had made about this, that the armhole is huge. And so I have two options. I can potentially, like, I don't know, bring it in or scrunch it in, or I can just leave it open. Like I said, the purpose of this dress is to be more of a like a maxi dress, and the way my maxi dress fit, usually it fit really well at the top, and then I like them really loose, and that's my hope for this. And I can get creative with this. I can always do some ruching, maybe like, here's what I'm thinking of, like ruche it up here. So I'm going to wait until I'm at a point where I'm ready to try it on. I've held it up. It's at my midsection. I know you can't really see right now, but overall, I really do like it. Kevin, kudos to you. I know you don't watch my channel, but man alive, you really know how to hand dye yarn, and I hope he feels proud of himself, because this striping effect that's happening with this yarn, I can't wait to wear this around bag. I'm going to wear a nice little undershirt under it, and wear a nice jacket. I have a thicker jean jacket. Besides, I'm going to be so hot from being excited to see folks. It's not even funny, but this is definitely something I'm going to wear, and I'm going to make sure I keep going with it. So this is what I have with me during those times where I'm sitting in a meeting and just someone's talking at me, or when I need to socialize, or just if there's a lull in the conversation, just something to what to do with my hands, because I don't want to just make up conversation just to do so. Or if I'm just feeling tired because I don't want to read the pattern, or read the pattern or whatnot. So this is the mini mock neck tank. And I decided to convert this particular tank into a dress because last summer around this particular time, I was test knitting the stripe hype dress. And I decided that every summer I'm going to make a dress. So this is my summer dress for summer 2024. And like I said before, it's coming along really well. My hope is that by the end of June, I can have this finished so that this will be my July, September dress, maybe October, because it's sometimes pretty warm in Massachusetts in October. So I'm feeling it. I'm enjoying it. I love it. It feels so amazing. So far the yarn is super soft, and it's not even blocked yet. So I can't wait. And I have so much yarn. Believe it or not, this is unbelievable. I'm still on the same skein of yarn. The same skein of yarn that I started the project with. I still have 4 of the balls. So the great thing is that I definitely will have some enough yarn to do what I'm envisioning for the hip section, where I want to do some increases. I'm hoping to keep the narrowness of it. And then when I get to, because the way that my shape is whatnot, like I'm really narrow here at the top. And then once you get past my bust, it starts to flare out like a pear. Like I call myself a pear. It starts to flare out like a pear. And that's essentially what I want to do. So once I'm not at that stopping point yet. So once I get to that stopping point and I measured it, I need to remeasure it, but I'm thinking about 7 inches from the underarm. I will start to do increasing um, to help it flow out, and not too much, but where it just flow out. And then once it gets to a good section, it's knitting around for that, and then I will start to cinch it in slightly, but not too much. I'm hoping that it will drape around well, but we'll see. I'm gonna keep trying it on once I get past the point where I'm at. I'm not quite there yet. My assumption is that when I finish this never-ending skein of yarn, I mean, look at this. This has to be at least, I don't know, at least 80 yards of yarn, if not more. Yeah, this has to be at least 80 yards of yarn. It feels like a 20-gram skein of yarn. But this is how much yarn I have left from the first ball. So it's not going anywhere. There's the second ball. I have the other 3 balls with me. So I'm doing good on the yarn for this project. And this project is no rush. My goal is to spend all of June working on this. I have a lot of mindless opportunity coming up because I will need to do some self-reflection to work. So I'm really looking forward to that. Having this particular project. But again, I thought this was going to be the main project I was working on playing, but it ended up being the complete opposite. The final project I wanted to talk about with you this evening is the Summer Love Socks. So I was randomly in my email and I saw this opportunity to win a gift card to Biscotti yarn in Montreal, Canada. They have other stores too, not Montreal. So I was like, oh, I'll enter it. And if you enter, you get a free knit pattern. I always love free patterns. And I saw the pattern they were saying it was free, and it's a pair of socks. It's called Summer Love. I believe the pattern is still free if you still want to enter it. So definitely check it out. It's the Biscotti yarn. And what I love so much about it is that it has beautiful textured on the leg, and you have the option of either stopping the texture and just doing stock and down on the foot, or you can continue the texture and again just do the foot. But the caveat for this particular pattern, this entry, if you do decide to enter, is that you have to use one of the Biscotti yarns. And I decided I'm going to use my self-striping yarn that I recently purchased from that store. And this is the Biscotti sock. I love it. It is so soft, and look how beautiful it is. I mean, look at this. I mean, perfect. I am so tempted to. I know that I'm supposed to use the Summer Love sock, but man, I am very tempted just to go ahead and do ribbing around. But I already have a ribbing pattern in mind, so I would like to make a pair of ribbing self-striping socks, and I'm glad I purchased this. So here's the yarn. Do you see that beautiful color? Look, there's little white, light gray, dark gray. It's so beautiful. So I'm working on that. This weekend, I'm just going to be focusing on this particular pattern. I'm taking a break from the shawl. I want to pick back up with the shawl next week because I am at this location until next Saturday. A week from today, so I need little things to change my mind, and I need things to engage my mind, I should say. I'm just looking at the bag. in here, but it looks like I left it at home. But this is the Biscotti sock yarn. It's one of their self-stretching yarn. You get over 400 yards of yarn with it. It's sock made. It's 100% superwash merino. Excuse me, 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And it's just absolutely a wonder, beautiful experience to work with. So I'm really glad to have that with me. And I'm going to actually, once I finish with doing this, I'm going to sit down and get busy with working on that. So those are the three projects I decided to bring with me here to Kansas City. My hope is that I will be able to go to the local yarn store called Yarn Social. It's about it's less than like 10 miles from where I'm staying at. I thought it would be a great thing. I'm hoping to connect with one of my online knitting buddies in person, and she and I can venture over to that yarn store. I'm just waiting to find out when I'm going to have enough downtime to do that, because I really, really love being in a yarn store, and just the idea of only being able to spend 30 to 45 minutes in a yarn store just doesn't feel significant enough. Especially when it's not local to me, I like to spend an hour minimum just so I can talk to the people who are there, really explore the yarn, and just get a feel for what's currently being sold in other places. Because sometimes you find something unique. And what one thing I like about Yarn Social, they have a spend cycle that's unique to their store. So I would love to, and from what I'm seeing on the pictures, I want to get it in person because I thought it would be really cool. This color work, what's the word I'm looking for? The color work cardigan that I would like to do. One of the many projects I would like to do, which is a good segue into the next item I want to talk about. So when I get back to Massachusetts, my hope is that I would have one of the three projects that I have with me finished. Based on where I'm at with it, that's most likely not going to happen, which is I'm okay with that.